Hello, Raleigh. Robert Court, citizen reporter with Your Backyard, coming to you from the Interfaith Food Shuttle's community garden. I have the distinct privilege to once again speak with Marshall Dietrich. Marshall, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Robert.
Tell us a little bit about this incredible garden, and I believe it started 2014 or so. Can you give us a little background, please?
That's correct. So we're here at Camden Street Learning Garden, and this is a project of Interfaith Food Shuttle. We're pioneering innovative, transformative ways to end hunger. And part of that is community gardens, where we're trying to teach folks where their produce comes from and how to grow it, how to enjoy it as well.
Right, literally in their backyard, growing produce. Incredible, bringing the solution right to the ground level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. How did this garden start? Vague idea or a big, huge plan?
It started with a grant and some funding to get in-ground beds in the area that we'll see in just a little bit. The garden has changed tremendously since 2014 because of the support from the community and from donors that really enjoy the program and want to see it.
So why don't you show me what you got going on?
Sounds good.
Ooh, this is nice. Ooh. So I see these boxes I'm familiar with, right? This is how I started in it. This was the very beginning of the garden?
That's right. So we are in the very first part of the garden. This garden is situated on 5 empty vacant lots that we are leasing from a company that's good enough to let us have our project here.
Nice.
So in the very beginning, this was not even these garden boxes, but pretty much a 2x4 holding in some soil in place that people could plant directly into the ground.
Wow. So initially, just a small little petri dish, giving it a shot.
That's right.
And then when did you graduate to the bigger garden boxes? Was that step 2 or 4?
I'm not sure on when the boxes were built, but with enough funding coming through, we were able to improve the garden boxes and build them up to what you see here today, which is the model for our Gardens for Everyone boxes that you have at your home.
Yes, and I've really enjoyed it. I'm getting some tips just looking around. So what happened for the garden after initial inception?
So after its initial inception and we got people growing, got the community invested a little bit, and it got to be more popular, the area beyond this is what we refer to as our food forest. We also have a community garden shed and some different things that we really like to highlight as far as, bringing in a real diversity of plants and things for people to enjoy in this garden.
Well, let's take a look.
Sounds good.
Phase 2 of the gardens.
So beyond our community garden boxes, later on, this area over here was identified as a great spot for a food forest. And the idea behind a food forest is to have things that folks can eat. So we have fruit trees, peaches, plums, apple, pear, figs.
Wow.
Strawberry bushes. We've got medicinal and culinary herbs as well. There's also 2 beehives and a vermicompost system, which is composting with earthworms.
Oh.
So they take our garden waste and turn it into wonderful fertilizer.
Nice. So the idea is it's, I won't say hodgepodge, but cultured more, not so with boxes, but free, a forest, right?
That's right. There are things like blackberries and raspberries that when those things are ripe, folks can just come on through and graze as they please.
Nice, I love that. Is it a year-round kind of thing, or does it have peaks and seasons, or how does the forest work?
It is year-round. It is the most busy in the summertime and the least busy in the wintertime.
Right.
But it is part of the garden that you can enjoy throughout the year.
Yes, it's very pleasant and shady. And what's the compost word again? Just see if I can pick it.
Vermicompost.
Vermicompost, all right. Are you the beekeeper, or is there somebody for that?
Actually, I am the beekeeper. I'm a first-year beekeeper. I just got my certification in July, and I'm learning lots in my first year. We have 2 hives that are very busy, very active. It's been a real thrill to have my professional development with Interfaith Food Shuttle learning beekeeping.
Nice.
Something I've always been interested in, but never had the opportunity.
We had some bees in the neighborhood, and it was always fun
Mm-hmm.
to do a flyby. Also like the artwork and the message. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, this was completed by a local artist. I'm not sure who it was done by, but this is our community gardener shed. Inside of the shed, the community gardeners have everything that they need to operate in their boxes and take care of the produce that they're growing. We also have next to that our chalkboard. This chalkboard is a great communication tool to let community gardeners and the community at large know what is ready and ripe in the education garden. And anything that is up on that chalkboard is free for the picking as long as it's ripe.
That's fantastic. What's next on our grand tour?
Sure. Another area that we really love to highlight in the garden is our 2 rainwater catchment cisterns. So we got a grant to purchase these water tanks, and we capture the runoff in a rain from our office building on the left as well as the church that's right next door to
Oh.
us. So as the rain falls, it's all into PVC pipe that drains into this first tank over here. Once this tank over here is full, it goes over into the next tank. So if we get a really good rain and these fill up, we're going to have 5,200 gallons of water, which is really going to help our efforts.
Wow, and good for everything. Is that, so it's direct, you're not catching water there and then pouring it over here?
That's right. It's coming straight off of the roof of the church in our office building, plumb
invisible.
down through
Nice.
and right into here.
Are you 100% off city water, or?
In times of drought, unfortunately, we do need to go back on city water, but this really helps us in times of good amounts of rain.
Yeah, I can imagine, that's a lot of water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Walking in here, Marshall, for me was a Willy Wonka moment. You know, I pulled up and it's a cute little entrance, you know, but we just keep walking back, and I say we walk back a little further because it just keeps getting better.
That's right. Here we have a few things to highlight. One is our community classroom. St. Michael's Episcopal Church helped us with the funding to erect this structure. There wasn't a whole lot of shade out here, and so once we got this structure, it's a very nice meeting place for our community gardeners. We hold workshops out here. Our Seed to Supper courses are held out here. The community also uses it when they have something that's maybe not even garden related.
Right.
We want folks to enjoy the space and to use it.
Well, this is a great shelter, you know, with electricity and fan, lights and fan. That is huge. I bet that really made this even more enjoyable to pull the community in and really sit in the garden and do their business.
And we've also had some of our community events at night, so the electricity helps with that.
Yes.
So Triangle Food Tours made the garden a stop on one of their food tours, which was a lot of fun. And it's really just a nice place to congregate.
That's great. I know if I was a kid, I'd be coming over here at night to hang out. So I assume we're 1 or 2 or 3 tracks in, but wait, that's not all. What do we have going on here?
So to our right over here, we have our greenhouse. The purpose of our greenhouse is to start plants in the wintertime when it's maybe too cold outside, but inside we were able to trap that heat and help our seedlings germinate. You can see a lot of good stuff is going on. We're in a transition period from summer to fall, so all the things that you see that are growing will be planted and grown throughout the fall. Then on the left over here, we have our education garden. And the purpose of the education garden is just that, education, as well as feeding folks. So let's say a community gardener has never grown peppers before, but they're interested in how does the pepper grow, how big is it gonna get, how do I harvest the pepper? We have those things growing here in the garden so that they can understand what they need to do in order to be successful with their produce.
Yeah, I think that's from Jonathan and I's garden experience is the next phase, right? We saw it shoot up, and it's very satisfying, and it bears fruit. But when do you trim? You know, when do you maybe cut that one to save the others? So I bet you get people out here all the time.
And our first row in the education garden is always planted with flowers. The community loves the flowers. Folks are welcome to come and cut all of these flowers. The more you cut, the more you get. So people go home with bouquets, and it's a really nice addition to attract those pollinators to our education garden.
Yes, I've noticed you've got all kinds of flying insects here. It looks great. Are those more tomatoes back there? I I don't recognize some of those.
Yeah, we can go back and take a look. Like I had said before, we're in a bit of a transition period, so some of the things like our summer squash have come out. We've harvested pretty much everything that's done for the season, and now it's time to start getting other things ready. So
Right.
you can see underneath our cloth over here, we've got some root vegetables that have just been sown, so seeds have been planted for the fall already. We've got a couple rows of peppers. Beyond that, we've got our tomatoes. The tomatoes will keep going through the fall as long as we're taking care of them. Next to our tomatoes, we have some eggplant.
Eggplant.
And then next to the eggplant, there's some okra.
Is that the one blooming now?
That's right.
All right, I did not recognize that.
Mm-hmm. And then next to our okra, we have some basil, a couple different types, as well as peanuts on the far end.
Oh, I can smell the basil.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very fragrant. We harvested a lot of the Tulsi basil yesterday. Makes the office smell really, really nice. And then, of course, everyone's favorite in North Carolina, we have sweet potato vines growing in our bed over here.
Yes. The things you can do with a sweet potato. And then, I'm assuming this is the last section, but this seems to be the don't reuse. I don't even know the recycle, but is this the waste processing?
That's
what do
right.
we call this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so up here we have a couple of different things. One thing to point out is our garden waste area. So we don't want anything to go to waste. So when we take things that maybe you can't eat, like when our squash was all done,
Yeah.
we harvest all the squash, but the plants can be composted. So we're going to put that in our garden waste area, and that's going to end up in our compost kitchen. If we walk over here, you can see this compost kitchen was built in partnership with Compost Now.
Love those guys.
And what happens is it goes all the way into our bin on the right. And you want greens and browns. And your greens are things that have moisture, things like banana peels, apple cores, maybe our squash plants that
Right.
we're putting back in there. And then we're also adding brown materials like wood chips and hay.
Oh.
And then over time, we're turning those piles to keep them nice and hot. And then by the time it finishes over here in our farthest left compartment, we're ready to put it back out in the garden to feed our soil.
Are you literally taking it from here and putting it in there and putting it in there and putting it in there?
That's right. We get our volunteers out here, we get the pitchforks going, and it's a heavy lifting day.
Yes.
And then opposite of our compost kitchen, we have a nice patch over here. So we have a pumpkin patch that's starting to grow, and we have our watermelon patch over here. Unfortunately, in our watermelon patch, you know, being a community garden, we have some critters out here.
Yes.
We have some groundhogs that have found our watermelons, and they love to munch on them.
I see one hanging out on the vine there.
Mm-hmm.
Your pumpkins, though, look great. They got a really good start, didn't they?
Yeah, they're looking good, and we're hoping that come October we'll have some nice pumpkins. These were planted a little bit later because we had a nice patch of corn in here, but after the corn was all harvested, we got the pumpkins into the patch.
We just did ours in our garden, so
Very nice.
I'm hoping it's not too late.
Yeah, we find that when we trellis the watermelons that can be trellised, that helps because they're off the ground, have an easier time with keeping them. And we also grew some really, really yummy cantaloupes this year.
Well, Marshall, I have to say I'm just blown away. You have an incredible facility here. The Interfaith Food Shuttle is so committed. This is just one of so many projects they do, but I appreciate you letting us come and take a peek at your garden. And I would like to ask all our friends in Raleigh to help sponsor the Interfaith Food Shuttle. They're doing good work in your backyard. You can hit them up on their website at
foodshuttle.org.
and you can pay online, you can write them a check, you can come visit their gardens. There's just literally hundreds of ways to get involved. They're doing good work, and we hope to see you right here in your backyard. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Robert. Appreciate it.